Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen and welcome to another day of bulk cooking, but we're baking today, so we're gonna call it bulk baking. And I usually consider it bulk baking if I'm either doubling, tripling, multiplying recipes, or I'm just simply setting aside an afternoon to get a lot of baking done, which is what we're gonna be doing today. So the first thing that we are going to make up is some oatmeal sandwich cookies. There is obviously a store-bought version of these if you live in the US that is pretty popular, and I am going to make a homemade version that I don't know if I'd call it healthy. It's got brown sugar in it, but at least I know what all's in it and maybe a few less preservatives. We'll go with that. But we're gonna start out by putting 2 sticks of butter in here. And we're going to also put a cup of brown sugar as well. And my plan is to freeze some of the things that we're baking today. So we're also kind of doing some freezer prep as well in the midst of all of this. So here's our brown sugar going in. And we have 2 eggs, some blue eggs from our chickens. Got a 1/3 cup of honey. And I'm eyeballing this a bit. Woo, we added a little extra there. And a splash of vanilla. That honey is gonna really help bring out the flavor in these. Between the honey and the vanilla, we're gonna have really great flavor, and then throw brown sugar in there. Yum. Next, I'm gonna add in some rolled oats. We need 2 cups of those. And I love sandwich cookies for the freezer. If you are familiar with like Amish and Mennonite baking, which both of my parents come from a Mennonite background, so that's the type of cooking and baking that I would have grown up on. We make a lot of whoopie pies. And whoopie pies are essentially a big sandwich cookie. They can kind of resemble like a big Oreo. They have a dark outside and a vanilla center, the traditional ones, and then there's many, many versions. In fact, I know we've made some here on my channel through the years, and pumpkin is one of our favorites as well, where you have like a pumpkin cookie, it's a soft cookie, and then you have a cream middle. And we freeze those. My mom and grandmother, and especially in my husband's family, would have grown up making those and freezing them. So that is something that I'm really accustomed to doing. It's been a long time. I know I've made oatmeal sandwich cookies, but it's been a long time since I've made those. And so I'm excited to have these on hand. My husband really likes these. So I am using a 1-for-1 gluten-free flour. You could just use regular flour if you don't need it to be the gluten-free. Same measurements. And in case you don't know, when I say 1-for-1, it just means for every cup of regular flour, I can replace it with this flour. Just makes it really easy to swap out recipes and make them gluten-free. We are going to do some baking soda and some cinnamon here. And it keeps raining, and then the sun is shining this week. It's been up and down. And so I have no idea if the sun is gonna shine through this whole video today. We've had our fair share of rain as well. And that's how the fall, as we get to the end of summer and fall comes in here in central Pennsylvania. It's just the typical weather for sure. Hey friends, we're gonna take a quick pause from all of our work in the kitchen today to talk about today's video sponsor, Mud Water. I have been really trying to reduce my caffeine intake lately, and Mud Water is helping me out with that. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely do get caffeine jitters, and I have been realizing that I've been overdoing it in the caffeine department. I've begun to realize that a lot of my caffeine intake is really just just a daily ritual. Lately, I've been making some healthy swaps so I can still keep that ritual, but be kind to my body. Mud water has a really yummy flavor. It is just so warm. It has a little bit of a chai taste, and I personally prepare it the way that I normally prepare my coffee. So I like to put cream in it, and I put a little bit of liquid stevia in it as well, just to give it that yummy taste that I'm used to, but replacing that extra caffeine. With a fraction of the caffeine, 35 milligrams, I'm able to feel my best without the crash. Also, there's some really big bonus ingredients like lion's mane mushroom, which helps to give me a little more focus, along with other ingredients that help give me energy and immunity. As you all know, I do try to stay sugar conscious, and so this has no sweeteners. That way you can adjust it to the way you like it. It's also USDA certified and Whole30 approved, which is something that I look for on packaging all the time. If it's Whole30 approved, I know that I'm getting something that has good whole ingredients. Flavor wise, it's kind of a spicy chai hot chocolate, and it gives you that warm mug feeling that you're craving. I've also been enjoying their matcha flavor as well. I'm a big matcha lover, and again, I just prepare it like I would normally, but it has so many more benefits for me than just matcha alone. With my link, you can get the Mud Water Starter Pack and a free frother, which is something I use every single day. This is a really great value. You're getting $20 off, and I can't recommend Mud Water enough, especially if you're looking for a good ritual alternative. I highly recommend checking out Mud Water. It is going to change up your ritual, and it's going to be a little kinder to yourself. Don't forget to check out the links in the description box below. All right, we're gonna add some salt as well to this. And salt, somebody was saying recently in a comment that they don't know why salt is in certain recipes, and it's really, or I should say maybe I read it in a recipe. Someone was saying recently in a recipe that they don't know always why salt is in it, and it just brings out flavor. Salt helps us to taste the flavor. All right, I'm going to use my smaller scoop out of the two I have because I don't want these to be too massive. And the recipe does recommend to line your baking sheets. Which you all know, I do this a lot anyways, just help save on mess, but if the recipe is recommending it, it's probably a good idea. That means that it may be an extra sticky batter. When you all have went with me to Costco, you know that they have a really good price on parchment paper. Okay, because I have made cookies similar to this before, if I had to guess, I think these are going to flatten out really flat. So giving them space to do that is important. Another reason I love sandwich cookies is because I'm all about things that are portioned out, and this is just a little dessert that's portioned out and easy to grab out however many you need out of the freezer if you individually wrap them. Which I think that's what I'm gonna do to freeze these, is individually wrap them. We have more batter to scoop up, but I'm gonna get these in the oven. I did preheat my oven a little while ago, so they are good to go in while we work on our next recipe. Because I need my mixer and my mixing bowl for my next recipe, I'm gonna go ahead and put the batter for the oatmeal sandwich cookies into a separate bowl so that we can use our mixing bowl. And the next thing that we are going to whip up I'm pretty excited about. It's been a while since I've made them. I've definitely made them before, but we're gonna make some really cute little fruit tarts. And I've had some more requests lately to include recipes that are low sugar. And so this next one is going to be, not all of them today are, but this next recipe will be low sugar. And I'll tell you what sugar alternative I like to use, and I will try to remember to leave it linked below as well. We have this fun tart mold here that we're going to be working with, but as she talks about in the recipe, you can kind of be flexible with this. You don't need this exact pan or anything. And I'm going to start out with 1 cup of coconut flour. Now, I want to quickly say, in case you don't need this to be gluten-free, I will leave a tart crust recipe that uses regular flour linked below as well. So we are going to do 3/4 cup of softened butter, and I actually got my butter out yesterday to let it sit out to prepare for baking today, so that everything is softened and I'm not frustrated with hard butter that's been refrigerated or even sometimes frozen, because I freeze a lot of butter and then I'll go to bake and I'm like, oh my word. I do not have any butter softened, and then you're trying to soften it really quick and sometimes it makes your recipes not turn out quite right. So 3/4 cup is 1.5 sticks of butter. And I did switch to my paddle type mixing attachment for this. Here is where I'm using 3 tablespoons of my alternate sweetener. So I like a monk fruit and allulose blend. I've used it for a couple of years now and really love it. And I will try to leave it linked below for you. Gonna throw in 2 eggs. Okay, for some reason I thought my camera was on and it was not. So we put a pinch of salt, a little bit of heavy cream, and some vanilla into this. So we are just gonna mix it up, and this should make a dough that we can press into this pan. Quick note on the sandwich cookies. It is very recommended in the recipe to really let these cool well. And that's because these cookies tend to fall apart. Like if I were to pick that up right now, it would just fall apart. So you want to let them cool for a bit and maybe even put them onto a cooling rack while you bake the others, just so that they are a little more firm whenever you go to create the sandwich part. Now that our oatmeal cookies are reloaded, I'm just going to spray this a little bit just so that nothing sticks, and I always like to use avocado oil spray. Now, because of the fact that you could use any tart pan, I'm not sure that it's going to fill all of these. We will see. I'm going to take a little bit at a time here and just kind of press them. I'm trying to work with it quickly because of the butter, but just sort of press them into the pan. These are to be baked at 350 Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 minutes, and they did warn in the recipe that they can burn easily, so I'm going to keep a good eye on them. I did watch them because, as you can see, they definitely can get toasty on the edges. So we're just going to let these cool, and then we will be making the filling and cutting the fruit for them. All right, we're gonna make a switch from sweet to savory, and we're going to make some 5-ingredient bagels. I have never made this recipe, so we're gonna try it out together, see how it goes. And I'm going to start out by putting 2 cups of 1-for-1 flour into my mixer here. We're gonna kind of combine our dry ingredients first. And I think I'm gonna have to get into my pantry and get another bag of flour out. Just refill while we're at it. You're going to want baking powder as one of the 5 ingredients as well. And I am doubling this recipe, so we're gonna do 4 teaspoons of baking powder. The last dry ingredient, so like I said, we're gonna mix the dry separately, but the last dry ingredient is some salt. As a part of the wet ingredients in this, it calls for 2 separate egg whites. So I'm just gonna do a fancy job here. Oops. Ooh, it's like separating. There we go. Math was just a little bit off. I actually needed 2 more eggs since I'm doubling this. So there's 2 egg whites in each of these, and then we'll save these egg yolks for something else. And I'm going to need 2 cups, and I have a feeling might go better for me to scoop this out with a spoon. 2 cups of Greek yogurt into a mixing bowl here, and then we are gonna whisk it with the egg whites. I am very anxious to see the texture of this dough. I've made actually a dough kind of similar to this before, in the sense that you're using a dairy to help bind everything together. So we're going to put half of the egg whites in with this. This is going to be to brush the top of them. All right, so into the dry ingredients, we're gonna put our Greek yogurt and egg white mixture. All right, again, this recipe suggests parchment paper. And I could have reused from the oatmeal cookies, but I just thought with the flavors being so different, we would use a new sheet. The texture of this dough is like very interesting, and it's recommended to use flour to dust your surface. It's very cloud-like, if I had to give it a good description. And we're going to cut it into portion sizes. So I'm trying to just kind of lump it together so I can get an idea on my portion sizes here. Okay, and then they said to do your best to shape what you got going on. I am really curious to see the texture on this. Okay. There's that. All right, that's what we're gonna go with. This is such like soft dough. Super, super soft. Very airy feeling. I don't know if that's from the Greek yogurt, why it feels that way, but it just does. I do really like the fact that these have a pretty good amount of protein in them with that extra added yogurt. Always looking for ways to add more protein in. All right, we are gonna go over everything with an egg wash. And honestly, I don't even have a brush to do this right now, so we're just gonna use our fingers just to get a nice little coating before we put our everything bagel seasoning on. This is gonna help these brown and help the seasoning to stick because egg whites are sticky. All right, I've just got some everything bagel seasoning and we are gonna coat these up good because we love this seasoning. We are about to whip up the cream for our oatmeal sandwich cookies. But since we're doing a lot of baking today, I don't want to leave my oven on empty at all. So we are going to mix up something that takes a little while to bake, and then it can be baking while we are working on filling our cookies. We are going to make a raspberry lemon loaf, and loaves are kind of like bars in the sense that there's such little work and such yummy result. You don't have to do a whole lot other than mix it all together and dump it into your pan and bake it. So we need a cup of raspberries, and I'm gingerly putting these in here because we know how tender raspberries are. We will need some more for the top as well, but this is just what's gonna go into the loaf. We also need some lemon zest and lemon juice. So we're gonna go ahead and zest up this lemon. For whatever reason, the last couple of weeks, I have not tried this, but I have had different recipes with lemon juice and lemon zest. So you guys have been watching me zest lemons quite a few times in the last couple of weeks. As many recipes do, we are starting off with our butter, and it's a half cup or 1 stick of butter. And we have a half cup of sugar. I'm just using cane sugar. We're gonna put both the juice and the zest from the lemon in here, making sure to catch any seeds as they go in, or if they try to go in, I should say. Lastly, we're gonna add 2 eggs, and I actually had to send my daughters out to collect the eggs because we were running a bit short here. So these are fresh eggs. We're gonna cream this all together before we add the dry ingredients. Rolling into the dry ingredients, we need a 1.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder. Also, I'm just realizing that there was one more wet ingredient and I forgot to add it in with the wet, but that's fine. It's 1/2 cup of milk. Lastly, we're gonna add a pinch of salt, and then I will pull this off of the mixer to fold in the berries. I know I have a strawberry measuring cup that I'm measuring raspberries with. I don't know if that's okay or not. Just going to very gently do this. And very gently put it all into here. I'm just hoping the raspberries can retain some shape through this process. Because I am a drink in a mug type person, I love anything warm that I can drink. I love sweet loaves, because they cut so nice and just go so well with that type of a drink. I'm going to try to spread this a bit more evenly. And yes, it was suggested in the recipe to line this, so I am following what they're telling me to do. I'm going to kind of run a little line along each side just to help it have more of that loaf shape. To round it up a bit. The bagels are out and I am just dying to slice into one of these, so I gotta pick one here. I think I'm gonna go with this one. They are cooled just a little bit, but I am so anxious to see what the inside of these look like. Okay, so definitely not as I would say they're more dense than a regular bagel, but I don't know. I am gonna give them a taste and let my children taste them and tell you guys what we think. All right, let's try them with a little bit of cream cheese.
Okay.
See what we think.
They look really good and hot.
Yeah, they are kind of hot yet. I don't know if letting them sit, we'll let a few of them sit and see what that's like. They're chewier than what I thought they were. At first I thought they were gonna be like more flaky, but they're definitely chewier, which is what you want in a bagel. Would you want me to make them again? Yeah, like other flavors and stuff?
Mm-hmm. It would be good as like a blueberry one.
Blueberry? Or what about cinnamon sugar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell me what you think of that. That one doesn't have like the topping stuff on it as much. You like it? Do you like the texture?
Yeah.
I'm curious once they cool what they're going to be like, but we'll give them a try.
Can I have this?
Yes, you can have that. Okay, Leah, do you want more? Okay, you want more? Okay. The verdict on the bagels is they're good and we're gonna make them again. They're easy enough to make and I like the ingredients. They're actually easy enough to make that my daughters could make them for themselves if they wanted to. So really thrilled with that. Okay, so we're gonna make the inside of these cookies. So we are going to take a cup of 10x sugar, powdered sugar, whatever you would like to call it, and a stick of softened butter, and then about a cup of marshmallow fluff. Then you can add water to this if you want to help thin it out if you need to a bit. The recipe does suggest doing milk, but I don't like adding milk to things that I might want to store on the counter if I don't have to. The butter's okay, you know, that type of thing. So if I need to thin this down a bit, I'm definitely just going to be adding water. All right, this turned out perfectly, and it's very easy to scoop and spread. And so I'm just going to divide this out between all of the cookies. I just pulled our beautiful loaf out of the oven. It looks delicious. We're gonna whip up some topping for that here in just a little bit. But while we get working on the filling for our tarts, we are going to get something else in the oven so that we're not wasting our oven heat that we've already preheated. So I'm going to take 8 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips and put them onto a double boiler with some butter to melt them, because we are going to make some brownie cookies. This was a request from my daughter who found this recipe on Pinterest, and we are going to go ahead and give them a try. They are a flourless cookie, which is always interesting, and I'm anxious to see how they turn out. We're going to start out by putting 2 eggs into the mixer, a half cup of sugar, and again I'm just using raw cane sugar here. Now I've brought my melted chocolate over here. The last time I made a flourless recipe with chocolate done like this, it was so good. So I am really excited to try this. The most challenging part, I think, of this is just making sure you have all the chocolate out of your bowl and put into the mixing bowl. All right, I'm gonna mix this pretty quickly just because I don't want the heat from the chocolate to affect the eggs. Now we're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And this is the organic cocoa powder I get in bulk from Azure. And a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. The last thing that we're gonna do is we are going to fold in some chocolate chips. I'm just using my attachment. And this is going to be really, really runny, like brownie batter. It is talked about in the recipe, and they said, do not worry, it will be okay. So we're gonna do about 1.5 tablespoons per cookie, and they're going to kind of flatten out, is what I am told in the recipe. I'm really nervous to put 3 in a row over here. I think I'm just gonna go with 2. The tops of these cookies are supposed to crack like a brownie would. And I can imagine that they're going to because the batter is so similar to brownie batter. Or regular brownie batter. All right, so as a lot of you know, I am a rule breaker when it comes to recipes quite often. And the filling inside the tarts, we're gonna swap up. It was a vanilla custard, but I have some other ingredients on hand here. So we're gonna kind of make our own concoction. Let me grab my heavy cream. First thing I'm going to do is take some heavy cream and turn it into whipped cream. I'm not measuring anything because, again, this is not really a true recipe. I'm putting probably about 1 cup of the heavy cream. I'm gonna put just a little bit of vanilla in there and a little bit of my monk fruit blend sweetener. And we're going to get it whipping really fast so we can get some whipped cream. Now that our cream has been whipped, I'm going to actually take it out of here because we are going to do a cream cheese portion of this. You could also use Cool Whip, but I am just using this because I don't have Cool Whip on hand, and honestly, I do prefer to make my own whipped cream when I can. Okay, we can leave a little bit in there, no big deal. It's just to whip the cream cheese, I don't want to flatten my whipped cream because after a while, if you over whipped cream, it will flatten it. Okay, so in here we're going to put, and again, I'm like guessing on all of these measurements, so there's a good chance I'm gonna have too much of this, but that's fine. We'll just put it on top of fruit that's not in the tarts. Just use it as kind of like a cream topping over strawberries or something like that. Okay, to this, I am going to add a 1/2 stick of butter and about 2/3 cups of the sweetener. Now I'm going to go ahead and whip this together and add splashes of heavy cream if I need to. We'll see how it goes here. Okay, just to loosen this up, we're gonna put a little cream. Now I'm just gonna fold my whipped cream in. So this is the cream cheese mixture, and then this is the homemade whipped cream. And I'm just going to kind of like slice it in and then turn it slowly into the cream cheese. Oh, this is gonna be absolutely delightful in those tarts. Okay, just for funsies, I decided to get out my piping bag here. I have this one set that I got on Amazon. I really like it because you can wash them and reuse them. And because I'm not using my piping bags even on a monthly basis, I feel like it's worth it for me because I can wash them and not have to be like repurchasing them for something I only use once in a while. There's a lot in here yet, but I'm gonna work with what I have in here and just see how much it fills these up. Just to bring some fun and color to these, I'm going to use kiwi along with raspberries and blueberries. And I should have probably grabbed my peeler. I feel like every time I try to peel a kiwi with a knife, or you can do a spoon too, but I feel like I end up taking off more than I mean to, but we're gonna give it a try here. All right, so let's dress these pretty gals up. Of course, we can put as many little fruity things on here as we want. You could swap it out for what you have on here. I think I'm gonna make them all just slightly different, just for fun. I love the pop of green from the kiwi. And it's going to also give a nice sour taste, ooh, to this as well. My mom is somebody that through the years has done specialized catering and things for weddings, and I feel like I'm given a little bit of her ideas through this. She makes lots of special things like this. I know that my family's gonna love these today. Oh, I just love how they're baked, and you can see the ribbing kind of from the tart pan. These turned out, I mean, absolute perfection. It looks like a brownie, just perfect. I'm gonna break it here for you to see. Ah, it's just amazing. Such a delicious way to make single serve brownies. We are gonna love these. The recipe for the raspberry lemon loaf calls for a cream cheese frosting to go on top, but I realized I had a good amount of this cream left from the tarts, and the main difference is going to be is that I'm gonna have to store this loaf in the refrigerator because of the whipped cream in this, which is totally fine. And besides all of that, I was planning to freeze about half of this loaf since we've got lots of goodies around with all this baking I'm doing. And a lot of things will get frozen from today. One thing I did want to mention is that those tarts freeze so nicely. I have frozen those with little mandarin oranges on them, grapes, and other things like that. So the fruit freezes really nice on top. Now, obviously, you wouldn't want to freeze it for like 6 months or something like that. But if you're going to eat it in a couple of weeks, it's a great way to store them and just be able to pull them out, let them thaw just a little bit, and then have a nice, refreshing, cold little snack. So I am zesting a bit more lemon here, and I'm gonna put that on top of the cream along with some raspberries, and I think we're gonna have a pretty beautiful loaf here. The great thing about lining loaf pans is you can do this, and it is so convenient. Nothing is stuck on, and your pan is really easy to wash too. So we're gonna just put this on top, and it might deflate a bit in the refrigerator just because of that whipped cream, but we'll see. The cream cheese might actually give it what it needs to stay nice and firm. I have a smaller spoon just to spread everything out. Guess we have a bit of a raspberry theme going on today. That was kind of unintentional, but you know what? Whenever I'm using something for one recipe, it's always nice to use it all up and find another recipe to use it for. Before I put the raspberries on, I'm gonna go in with this lemon zest. This is going to be so good. Some fun placing the raspberries. You know what I'm thinking? I may just put this right back in the loaf pan just to store for the next day or two. We're heading into the weekend and I'll probably want to eat some then. And then when the weekend is over, whatever's left can be frozen and saved for another weekend. I am so happy with everything that I baked up today and got a nice chunk of stuff to go into the freezer and have some homemade baked goods at my fingertips whenever I need them. It is so nice just to know what is in your baked goods. You have fresh butter and other things like that that may not be in store-bought baked goods, and so it's just so fun to be able to put that together and do it quickly, take a couple hours, and you have a nice stash in your freezer for quite a while. I'm happy with everything. If I had to give a favorite out of all the test tasting that I did today, it's going to be a tie between the lemon raspberry loaf, which I have a soft spot for lemon things, so I don't even know if it had anything else had a chance. And then also the oatmeal cream pies, they knocked it out of the park. I know that my husband is going to be thrilled with those. And this is my first time making it with a gluten-free flour, and it was so great. The texture was nice and chewy, which is really what you're looking for when it comes to those oatmeal cream pies. And just yum, like flavor perfect. That honey kind of gave a little bit of a toasty, yummy flavor to it as well. And so let me know in the comments what you have been working on lately as far as like your bulk cooking or maybe meal prepping or meal planning. I hope this video was super inspirational to you. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. It's free and it helps out my channel. And obviously you can get notifications on more meal prep videos I put out every week for ideas for meals for your family that are healthy and hopefully budget friendly. That all depends on where you live and what things cost where you live. I think that's something that people don't often take into account whenever they are making budget friendly videos. It all depends on how much those things cost in your area. So do keep that in mind. But for the most part, I try my best to do simple ingredients and simple recipes that anyone can do, just simplifying life when it comes to food without having to always get takeout or something like that. And we do that too. I don't want to act like we don't. We definitely do. But having things in my freezer and ready to go on busy days and busy weeks and busy seasons is super, super helpful. So leave me a comment. Love hearing from you. I do my very best to respond to all the comments that I can. I love hearing from you all. And give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in my next video.